This drawn-on scribble effect has become really popular. You see it pretty much everywhere. You see it on commercials, you see it on music videos, and the great thing is it's a really simple process and anyone can do it. It just takes some time, patience, and some creativity. I made this so anyone could follow along, so even if you've never used Blender before, you'll be able to follow along with this and do your own awesome scribble effect. Here is the video we're going to be working on. You can download this for free from my website and follow along directly, or you can just watch the video and learn the techniques and then make your own from there. Alright, I have Blender open. I'm going to left click away from the splash screen. I'm going to click A or hit A. That will select everything. I'm going to hit X for delete, and I'm going to hit enter to say OK to that delete. Let's take care of a little bit of setup real quick. So under File, under Edit, go down to Preferences. Once this box comes up, click on the Add-ons button here, and just click in the search box and type in Plane. And you should see this Import Export Images as Planes. Just make sure you have that checked. Also, if you have a number pad on your keyboard, you don't need to do this. But if you don't have a number pad, go to Input and click on Emulate Numpad right there. And that's it for our initial setup. Now we're going to go to File, Import, Import Images as Planes. This only shows up because we turned on that add-on. I'm going to click there. Now you want to navigate wherever you have the video you want to use. For me, I had it ready, so I'm just going to left click once on this, and in this right panel over here, I want to click on Shadeless. We don't want any lighting. If you don't change any settings, this will actually be affected by the lighting in your scene, so we don't want that. I'm going to click on Shadeless and then Import Images as Planes. Click that button. So right off the bat, you see we've got something. I'm using my middle mouse wheel to scroll in. You don't see any image, but if you go to hit Z and go to Rendered, you will see we have our video there. Let's take a moment to go ahead and save. I'm going to hold Control, hit S, navigate to where my project is. I'm going to type in, I'm going to call it Grease, Pencil, Scribble, hit Enter, and Enter. And yeah, I'd advise for you to go ahead and save also. We need a camera to actually look down at this. So again, with my mouse in the middle section, I'm going to hold Shift, hit A, go down to Camera. And by default, you see it wasn't really put in a good position, but I'm going to hit N, and that will bring up my right panel, and the camera selected. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to click into that rotation to 0. Click into this, 0. Actually, before I hit enter, I'm going to tab and hit 0 again to zero out all of those values so it's not rotated. And you can see it's not, the camera's pointing underneath. I'm using my middle mouse wheel, click and dragging it to rotate. You see it's beneath our video here. So if I hit G for move and then Z to do it on the Z axis, I can just go ahead and pull up my camera. I'm going to hit 0. So this is where if you have a number pad, you'd hit number pad 0. If you don't, you have that emulate numpad setting where you just can hit the 0 key. So currently we're still not high enough. So this Z value is where the camera is. So I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag until the video fits nicely. I might have it cropped in a little bit just to be safe and make sure the video is filling the full size of the camera. I wasn't clear enough before. I'm just going to click and hold with my middle mouse to move around here. Why I hit 0 was 0 will take you into your camera view. So for the rest of the time in this video, we're just going to stay in that 0 setting, so we're looking through our camera. And I also want to say for people who aren't used to Blender, if you scroll in and out with your middle mouse wheel, you will zoom in and out. And if you hold Shift and click and drag with that wheel, you can pan around. So I just wanted to know those are the main navigation tools you need for this. So just know those two things. I'm going to zoom back out. Now let's actually start drawing. So I'm going to hold Shift, hit A, And so that's to add a new object in. We want a grease pencil and blank. So you see we've got this G pencil added and it's selected. You can tell because it's highlighted. Now in this right panel, if I click here for the material, I'm going to click new. You can see here, you can kind of tell it's a little drawing icon. So now I just want to pick my color. So if you click into this color, I'm going to drag from black all the way up to white because I want it to be very bright and vibrant. I'm going to go with this kind of neon yellow. You can pick whatever color you want, but this is how I'm going to get started here. So one more thing we have to do. Right now we're still in object mode where you can't really do any drawing. So we want to go to the top left where it says object mode and go to draw mode. So now if I left click and drag, you will see I'm actually drawing over my image. So I don't actually want that line, so I'm going to hold Control and hit Z. But now we're actually ready to start drawing. Another thing real quick is it's a little distracting that we have these lines. If you hover your mouse over these two little circles, you see it says Show Overlays. I'm going to click on that, and that will just get rid of those lines so it doesn't distract us. If you ever need it back again, just go up and click, and you can get the overlays back. So I'm just going to click that so we see exactly what we're working on. And the other main settings you need to know is radius, and this is just going to be the size of what you're drawing. So you can just click and drag this up, left click and drag, and you see you have a very large stroke here. I'm going to hold Control, hit Z to undo that. And then the strength will be if it's like see-through or not. So let me draw this line again. You can see I'm seeing through this. You may like that. I left it like this in mine, but it's up to you. But also keep in mind, so if I draw a second line over top of it, it will kind of build up there. So you may like that, you may not. I'm going to hold Control, hit Z to undo the first one, and I'm going to Control Z to undo the second. So if you don't like that, you can drag it all the way up to 1, and you can see it's not transparent at all. You don't see it. Control Z. If you want to be really transparent and light, you can bring that down. So just be aware of that value. I'm going to Control Z to undo it again. I kind of like the 0.6, so I'm going to go back to 0.6. And then the radius, is really whatever size you want. I think I went with 40 for mine. Let me just do a quick example. That might even be a little too big, so I'm going to undo that. Let's go down to 20 even. And we're just trying to get these settings we like. So really whatever makes sense for your project. But as a quick example, that looks pretty good to me. So I'm happy with both the radius size and the strength. I'm going to Control Z and undo that. I'm going to go ahead and save also. Control S. And then the last thing you should be aware of is, so for example, if I draw around, I'm making it really squiggly. If I zoom in, you can see it's kind of jagged and it's not the cleanest. I'm doing with this with a mouse, but even with a pen, it still might be jagged like this. I'm going to hold Control, hit Z. Let's find, where are our options? So if you click on this options box, you get some settings for kind of playing with this line you're drawing. I mainly messed with this section here, and it really is just a matter of getting the numbers to something you like. So let's go ahead and try 3. So this is the number of times it's going to go over and try to smooth your line. And let's kick this up to even like 1, and let's see what happens. So now if I left click and drag, I'm going to make it really squiggly. And when I let go, you'll see it'll change this. So you see it kind of jumped and made things smooth. So if you want it to stay, I'm going to Control Z to undo it. If you want it to stay really true to how you drew it, you would turn these things down or off altogether. If you want it to be really smooth, let's even try out something more drastic, like, I guess 3, it maxes out at 3. But let's try taking the smooth to 2. And let me left click and drag, draw around, to give you some examples to see it. And then you see how it kind of jumped, but it really smoothed it out. Personally, I like this a lot, so I'm going to leave it. I'm going to Control Z to undo it, but in my options, I'm going to have it at 2 for smooth and 3 for the iterations. You can play with that and see what you like. But so, for example, if I just go around this head real quick, so you can see as I'm drawing it, it's kind of jagged. I let go. Let me zoom in. You can see, and again, I'm using my middle mouse wheel to zoom in. holding shift and middle mouse to pan around, you can see it's just a lot smoother with those settings in place. So I'm going to zoom out, hold Control Z, and now we're ready to start actually drawing. Alright, so I'm not going to bore you by being really precise and trying to get this perfect. Depending on how exact you want to be, you can either really zoom in here and start going around and making it, as close as you want. Like for example, I'm right on the, not right in the head there. You may not care. Yours can be really loose. It really is up to you and your preference. I will say it is a little bit of a tedious process. You have to do a lot of drawing, so something a little loose and quick is probably going to be better than trying to be too particular. So, and also for this tutorial and you watching me, I'm not going to go, super accurate. So just really loosely, I'm just going to start outlining this person. I'm just left clicking, dragging. I let go there, left click, drag, go around. You can see I'm just outlining this person. Maybe I will zoom in here, get a little more exact. Left click and drag, outlining this person here, there, and I'm zooming out. So right there, we've got our first drawing done. Again, a little sloppy, just, for your project, you can be more precise. And I want to do one more thing too. So let's actually change this from a left click there. Currently, we're looking at, it's the timeline. I want to switch this to the dope sheet. And by default, if you click on dope sheet, it's going to show you any keyframes you have for your animations. But specifically, we need to click on this dope sheet button here and go up to grease pencil. So this now will show us any keyframes, aka any drawings that we have on each of these frames. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag this window. So I hovered over the edge here and just dragged it up just so I can see a little bit better. So you can see here, we're at frame 1. So the way we're going to do this is you just can hit your left and right arrows to jump ahead of frame. So I'm going to jump ahead of frame by just hitting the right arrow key. So now we're at frame 2 of our animation. And it's kind of common when doing this to only do an animation every other frame, because if you do every single frame, it's a lot of drawing. But that being said, you will have a more accurate animation if you do draw every frame. So it's kind of up to you. If there's extra fast animation going on, like if the person's moving really quickly, it might be a good idea to do it every single frame. But so, I'm just going left and right to jump from frame 1 to frame 2. So you can see my drawing's still here, and it's not really accurate, but it goes by so fast, it's just a single frame, that your eye won't really catch it. But again, if you are catching it and you see it's a problem, you may want to go ahead and do a drawing here. But so right off the bat, I'm just going to do one every other frame. So I'm going to hit right arrow, and now I'm on frame 3. I'm going to go ahead and start tracing our person again. And as you can see, so I started left clicking and dragging. My original drawing is still there. When I let go, my original drawing will be gone. So if you want to reference it, you have to hit the left arrow to go back to it and the right arrow to see your new drawing. As you can see, this little diamond here indicates a new keyframe, which is a new drawing. So there is something called onion skinning that would show you your previous lines. I couldn't get that working. If someone in the comments knows, I played with the settings a little bit, but it wasn't working for this. But instead, I just kind of went back and forth. Anytime I need to see where my drawing was, I just used the arrow keys to see where I was at. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep drawing. Again, I'm going to do this really loosely. Maybe go in here, go up here. Okay. And then, so if I hit right arrow, again, I'm doing every other. So now I'm at frame 4. I'm going to right arrow again to be every other. And again, if you don't do a new drawing, your previous drawing will remain until you make a new keyframe. So frame 4, for example, will still get the drawing from frame 3 where there's this keyframe here. So frame 4 will still have that drawing. Now frame 5, if I start drawing over here, let go of my mouse, so now I have a new keyframe and a new drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and keep drawing here. Do another outline. Again, you can spend more time on this, have more creative ideas about what could be going on, but real quickly, I just wanted to show you that. I also want to point out that in some cases, you don't want to do a new drawing every time. Say you're building on an animation where you need the exact same drawing to remain again. You still have that option. If you bring your mouse down to this dope sheet and you left click on whatever keyframe you want to copy, so left click, you can see it's highlighted barely there. If you hold shift, hit D, that's going to duplicate that keyframe, and then you can just bring it over to wherever you want. So I'm just going to put it there, and actually it's not a great example, so I'm gonna delete that real quick. I'm gonna hit X and delete keyframes. I'm gonna copy the first one, so I'm gonna click on the first one, hold shift, hit D, drag it over, put it here, and now you can see when I right arrow key and get to that frame, I actually have the same drawing from frame 1. In this case, we don't really want to be doing that. It's not useful for us, but there's going to be cases where you do want to copy your exact same drawing, and then say you wanted to add on to this. I've got my same drawing, now I can add on to it without having to redraw all of that. So I just wanted to point that out because you may want that for your project, but we don't want that. So I'm going to make sure I'm down here with this keyframe selected. I'm going to hit X for delete and click on delete keyframes, and I'm going to left arrow key to get back to where we left off. And really that's the basics. That all you really need to know to start playing around with this yourself and seeing what you can do. So, but just real quick, just to give some more examples, I'm gonna hit right arrow, so I'm 2 frames ahead. I can kind of show you how I did those little moving lines. I just kind of clicked and dragged. I kind of made them vary a bit, give them different space, different length. Again, I'm just doing this pretty loose, so you don't have to sit there and watch me doing this. So there's my first one. I'm going to go ahead over 2 frames. And what I kind of did was, I see there's a gap here. I kind of did the opposite. Wherever there was a space, I added in a new drawing. So I'm going to start drawing here. And again, all those go away, so you can't really reference them. But if I hit left arrow, I can see right arrow go back, left arrow, right arrow. So I can see I need it here. And really, I kind of just spitballed it, knowing how my spacing was. I just kind of went ahead and did some of these, go over right arrow, do some more. And then really you should keep in mind that these things go by really fast. So if you just do a couple of keyframes, a couple drawings of this, it's just going to go by so fast, and you're not really going to be able to see it. It's going to go by quicker than you think. So just play around with it a little bit and know that you need to do probably a few more drawings to hold that in the person's eye, that they really see what's happening. So just going to do these and just kind of review what we did. I'm going to left arrow, and you can kind of get a quick snapshot of what's happening here. And again, frame 2, we didn't do a drawing, so the arm's off, but when this is really flying by, you're hardly going to see that. So I also just held the left arrow key to kind of pan through this to preview it. So you can hold it there and kind of get a little preview of how it's going to look. I am going to continue on and show you some more advanced things that you can do. But if you really just want this basic concept, I also don't want to make this video drag on for you. So if you want to see extra features, stick around. But let me first show you how to export this as a final video if you've never done that before in Blender. So imagine we've gone through, we've used this right arrow, we've done a ton of drawings. We're all done at this point, and you're ready to render out your animation. So we're going to go over to, it kind of looks like a printer here. You have a start frame, which you want to be at 1, and then the end frame is just however long your video is. So if your dope sheet keeps going on and it actually is a lot longer, you can use this to pan over. Say you want to do this for, multiple minutes. I would say that will get pretty tedious, but you can totally do that. Just change this end value to whatever it is. I'm just going to put it down to I'm going to put down to 120, which would just be a few seconds long, really. Whatever, however long yours is, just update that value there. And then under output is where we're going to click on the little folder icon. I'm going to navigate to wherever you want to save this. I'm going to call it finished Scribble video. Hit enter and then enter. So that's the location it's going to go. Now we have to change this PNG to FFmpeg video. And then you also have to open up this encoding, scroll down. You could leave this. I like to change this value to MP4, MPEG-4. And this is medium quality. I usually go up to high quality, but you can play with those settings and see what you like. And at this point, you've got everything ready. I'm just going to go ahead and Control S to save, just to keep all these values set. And then it's as simple as going to render animation. And it will start rendering out your video. And I'm not going to keep this going, but if for you, just let this continue through its process. But if I hit escape, because I'm just going to stop this by hitting escape. And yeah, that's how you get a video out. So stick around if you want to know some extra features and other things that you can do that gets a little fancier. But that's how you do the basics. I've decided to save the advanced features for a second video. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope that you found it useful, and if you did, please like the video and consider subscribing to my channel. It really motivates me to make more videos. And if you really want to support the channel, I created a website called cuddlyghost.com where I sell stickers. They're only $2 and the shipping's always free. So feel free to check that out.